Brain-based learning and the guiding principles of instructional technology and distance education for the 21st century. Brain-based learning is defined as any teaching or strategy that utilizes the latest neural research and information about the human brain to provide a biologically driven framework to organize how educational material is designed, constructed, and facilitated to maximize effective instruction that enhances learner cognitive ability with emphasis placed on how the brain learns naturally. As seen in the next graphic and video of a 3D MRI of a human brain, recent advances in research technology, such as images of the brain produced by fMRIs and PET scans, fuel rapidly emerging discoveries from neuroscience and cognitive neuroscience that focus on how brain biology gives rise to attention, thought, and behavior. This body of research is rooted in the knowledge base for the rapidly existence of brain-related disciplines. Everyone seems fascinated with images that show which areas of the brain are activated by talking, reading, calculating, etc. But what do these images really tell us? For neuroscientists, they help in piecing together the puzzle of how the brain works. Separating fact from fiction and myth is crucial. Making sense of the brain's mind-boggling complexity isn't easy. It's the organ that makes us human, providing the capacity for learning, rational thought, individual personality, memories, movements, and how we sense the world around us. The best way educators can enhance their efficacy to educate students is to deepen their understanding of how the brain works. Education does not need a quick fix from neuroscience. Instead, the creation of a new interdisciplinary field that integrates neuroscience, biology, and cognitive science with education that some are calling mind, brain, and education. In the long term, this new field or domain holds promise to transform schools and education by creating a scientific basis for educational practice. Smaldino, Lowther, and Russell define instructional technology as hardware, software, and/or processes to facilitate learning, the specific use and knowledge of tools and craft in education. The authors define distance education as any instructional situation in which learners are separated in time and space from the point of origination, characterized by limited access to the teacher and other learners. It is important to remember that brain-based learning is the active engagement of practical strategies based on principles derived from brain-related science and disciplines. In brain-based education, there is no separation of brain, mind, body, feelings, social contacts, or respective environments. Guiding principle number 1. Apply brain research to instructional design. The underlying rationale behind the value of brain-based learning is that neural connections in the brain, those connections that represent the formation of knowledge, are dynamically created and modified throughout a person's lifetime. Design brain-compatible instruction instead of brain-antagonistic instruction. Guiding principle number 2. Accommodate learning preference and style. The brain uses its 100 billion plus cells to process information and images in many ways and on different levels. Most students have a preferred and secondary modality for learning, commonly called learning styles. Vary teaching techniques and provide activities that use both hemispheres of the brain. Use convergent and divergent thought processes, rational and linear, combined with intuitive and creative thought processes. Be willing to make allowances for individual differences. Guiding principle number 3. Provide learner-centered environments. A learner-centered environment signifies that instructors know and attend to the knowledge, skills, beliefs, and backgrounds each student brings to the class. It implies that the time it takes for learning to mastery will vary with every student, as will the style of learning that works best for each student. Here's a little satire on the subject.
My students have embraced the learner-centered learning philosophy with enthusiasm. They have asked me to create for them a new learner-centered learning center. I've given them space for it on this cozy rooftop. How are you enjoying your new center, my students?
It's a little cold in the evenings, Professor.
Perhaps I should give you a coffee machine.
That would be welcome, thank you.
Why do you carry that tennis racket everywhere?
Because the constructivist approach has allowed him to construct his own doctoral program.
Yes, in tennis studies.
To decide whether I should supply your learner-centered learning center with a coffee machine, I must first assess if it is proving beneficial for you.
Teacher-centered assessments are anathema in LCL.
Ah, an acronym for learner-centered learning.
Because, in LCL, all decisions are to be made by the learners.
Unlike TCT,
That would be teacher-centered teaching.
where the teacher is oblivious to the learner's needs.
We used to call that bad teaching.
Exactly.
Could it be that LCL is bad learning?
Not if the learners collaborate and construct their learning together.
As in, the blind leading the blind.
Don't be confused by his DC obstructivism.
Do you think teacher-centered learning might have a chance?
All TC approaches are bad.
How about learner-centered teaching then?
All learning approaches involving teachers assume that the teacher knows what the learners need.
The professor is right. An LCT rationale would allow the learner to dictate what is taught by controlling the teacher's cartoon.
By hacking into their accounts as we do in Facebook.
And giving the teachers a false impression that he or she is still in charge.
Thereby paving the way for SBL.
Surrogate-based learning.
My students love jargon and acronyms. They rapidly learn from their teachers. That jargon helps them to compete, obfuscate, and on rare occasions to explain.
That's not all. We've developed a new concept that we like better than learner-centered learning. Student-centered studying.
SCS.
Congratulations, my students. You are creating exciting pedagogical breakthroughs for online learning. You shall have some new styrofoam coffee cups. We'll talk about the machine later.
Guiding principle number 4. Deliver information in chunks. Memory is an extremely complex subject. It is not within the scope of this presentation to elaborate further than to state that there are 3 types of memory: sensory, short-term working, and long-term. Memory is also classified in spatial and rote memory systems. Chunking is a cognitive strategy that supports short-term working memory and channeling of encoded information into long-term memory by organizing and grouping key pieces of information together to be processed as a single unit. For years now, it was thought that the average retention chunk that can be held by the human brain is 7 bytes of information, plus or minus 2. Recent research suggests that 4 bytes are the practical number that can be held in short-term working memory and processed at one time. This is probably a conservative target for educators now. Guiding principle number 5. Present knowledge in a way that allows the brain to extract patterns. Patterning refers to the meaningful organization and categorization of information. The brain is designed to perceive and generate patterns and integrate information. It resists meaningless patterns or isolated pieces of information. The ideal process is to present information in a way that allows the brain to extract patterns, rather than attempt to impose them. Guiding principle number 6. Minimize distractions and maximize attention. The brain absorbs information of which it is directly aware and to which it's paying attention. It also directly absorbs information and signals that lie beyond the field of attention. Peripheral information can purposely be organized to facilitate learning. Distance learning theory and studies advocate that rich, complex, interactive experiences and collaboration will enhance attentiveness. Guiding principle number 7. Suggest the value of good nutrition. The brain is a physiological organ. Everything that affects a person's physiological functioning affects their capacity to learn. Neuron growth, nourishment, and interactions are integrally related to the perception and interpretation of experiences. The brain's superfuel is oxygen, with water the next most important. Protein helps boost memory and attention. Studies indicate that students who eat nutritious food while studying earn statistically higher test scores and increase reading speed and accuracy. Guiding principle number 8. Provide positive emotional support. Learning is influenced and organized by emotions and mindsets based on expectancy, personal biases, prejudices, degree of self-esteem, and the need for social interaction. Recent research indicated that adding positive emotional components to new information, such as heightened sensory input provided by a surprise activity or novel demonstration, can promote student enthusiasm and help illuminate seldom used pathways to long-term memory storage. In general, the entire learning environment needs to be supportive, marked by mutual respect and acceptance. Guiding principle number 9. Provide an atmosphere free from undue stress. When dealing with threat or stress, the rational thinking cortex of the brain decreases in efficiency and learning stops. Blood moves away from the frontal lobes, reducing the ability to think clearly or recall information. Peak learning happens when the brain is in high challenge and low stress. Principle number 10. Reconsider methodology. Determining how to implement these principles is not a matter of preference. There is no one best way. Learning outcomes, meaning, and motivation are being reconceptualized for the 21st century. Brain-based or brain-compatible learning theory focuses on concepts that create an opportunity to maximize attainment and retention of information. However, modern educators must be more than mere dispensers of information. They must be active enhancers of memory. Educators need to become aware and understand current research if they are to successfully implement new strategies and theories as a means to enhance their own effectiveness, enhancing student learning. To review brain-based learning and the guiding principles of instructional technology and distance education for the 21st century. 1. Apply brain research to instructional design. 2. Accommodate learning preference and style. 3. Provide learner-centered environments. 4. Deliver information in chunks. 5. Present knowledge in a way that allows the brain to extract patterns. 6. Minimize distractions and maximize attention. 7. Suggest the value of good nutrition. 8. Provide positive emotional support. 9. Provide an atmosphere free of undue stress. 10. Reconsider methodology.